Hip-hop just witnessed a public execution. And no, it wasn't in a rap battle. It was on a live SDRM. Y'all ever see someone walk into a ring thinking they're the champ and walk out like they just got slapped by history itself? Yeah, that was Jim Jones and the ones doing the slapping. But last night was different. Jones got roasted, toasted, and folded like dirty laundry in a Bronx laundromat. You thought price battles got messy? No. This was Lyrical Genocide Live. You're a feature rapper in a world of classics and benzo. That man was just adding gasoline to a fire nausea already lit. So, what really happened on that live stream? Why was Jim Jones left looking like Dipset's unpaid intern? And what made NS snap after all these years of silence? Grab your popcorn. This one's nasty. Let's rewind for a second, because before we dissect the absolute demolition of Jim Jones that took place on that now infamous live stream, we got to understand why this moment felt like karma, dressed in Timberlands finally stomping down the hallway of hip-hop justice. So, here's the setup. Decided he had something to say about Nas. Yes, Nas. You know, the man who dropped ill before most of these new rappers were even born? The one whose pen game birthed entire generations of lyricists, that Nas. And what did Jim do? He pulled the classic move. He poked the bear. See? He said something along the lines of, yeah, Nas is cool, but is anyone really checking for him these days? Pause. Let's all take a collective moment of silence for the delusion in that statement. Gods who apparently decided, okay, let's teach Jimmy a lesson. Now, let's be fair. Jim Jones isn't new to controversy. This man has made a carry route of drama. From Dipset's internal beefs to falling out with Cameron to that time he fake cried. On Love and Hip Hop, the man's been messy. There's a difference between being relevant through antics and being respected through legacy. Nas has always played the long game. He doesn't tramp. He doesn't throw tantrums. He sits back, watches, and when he speaks, so you feel it, erupted. And just to make sure the message was clear, Nas didn't show up alone. He had backup. Unexpected backup. The kind of backup that makes you double-check the live button and refresh your screen in disbelief. Enter Benzino. Now look, say what you want about Benzino, and trust me, we have but. When this man wants to be messy, he shows up with notes, a grudge, and a front row seat to destruction. Comments flying, screen recordings rolling, Twitter waiting to explode. And then Nas spoke. Not loud, not angry, just surgical. Just because you shout doesn't mean you got something to say. Boom, instant silence on the Jim Jones front. You could practically hear the Dipset chain hitting the floor. Now, let's talk about what made this live stream moment even more brutal. It wasn't just Nas flexing his lyrical superiority. It was the effortless way he dismantled Jim's entire persona without ever raising his voice. He broke it down point by point. Legacy, Nas got decades hits, Nas got classics. Cultural impact, Nas helped define the very sound that guys like Jim borrowed from. Then, like a true surgeon of shade, he delivered the coldest line of the night. I write legacies, not jingles. Phew, and this wasn't even the part where it got messy. No, that was just the opening scene. Because just as Nas leaned back, satisfied with the lyrical open-heart surgery he had performed, Benzino stepped in. You could see the smirk on his face that I'd been waiting to say this for years. Energy was thick in the air. He leaned the mic and said, look, I've been in this industry long enough to know who's real and who's reality TV. Jim Jones, he's VH1, not hip-hop. And that's when the comments section exploded. Jim just got cooked. Turn off the stream. Bro, can't recover from this. By this point, the stream had gone full chaos mode. Fans were screen recording like their lives depended on it. Blogs were prepping headlines, and Twitter was already declaring it the L of the year. The Jim versus Nas tension has been bubbling under the surface for a while. There's always been that quiet divide in hip-hop. The thinkers versus the screamers, the writers versus the hustlers, fashion, street cred, viral moments. Nas. He's been in the cut, building empires, staying quiet until the moment demands a microphone. So, when that moment came on a random Tuesday night live stream, it felt less like a disc and more like a history lesson. Like the teacher finally standing up in the middle of the class and saying, alright, enough cloning, let's talk real music. But don't get it twisted. Jim tried to fight back. Oh yes, he tried. He jumped in the stream with his usual energy, loud, animated, full of nah, hold-up energy. But it was too late. The crowd had turned, the narrative had shifted, and he looked less like a rapper and more like a man trying to swim in a pool of his own ego. And this is where part one ends. Because just as Jim tried to recover, just as he attempted to defend his name and pulled the crowd back on his side, Nas dropped another verbal bomb that shoot everything down. In that moment, that's exactly where we pick up in video. He leaned in, cracked his neck, gave that forced street tough stare into the camera, and muttered, "Yo, listen." And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the moment Nas decided to reload. Without skipping a beat, Nas calmly replied, "Work. It's not evolution, it's repetition. There's a difference." You could literally feel the audience flinch. The livestream chat exploded. L plus ratio plus cooked. One fan commented, "It was poetic justice served on a livestream platter," and as if that wasn't enough, Nas leaned in again and dropped this atomic line. "Your entire discography is what I skipped through to get to the feature. Game over." But wait, this is hip-hop. Cue the fake investigative leaks, because within minutes, yes, minutes, leaked DMIs, industry sources, and insiders started surfacing with stories that made this entire beef go from spicy to downright nuclear. One so-called insider, who we'll call Anonymous A&R, Jim Jones and multiple execs where he was practically begging for a versus battle against Nas to prove his cultural value. The messages read, "Let me get Nas. I'll bring the streets. I got the crowd." He tried to manufacture a moment and got ghosted by the very people he thought would back him. But it gets juicier. Another fake report surfaced that Jim Jones spent over $100,000 on PR, TikTok influencers and streaming farms trying to boost his relevancy after the live stream went viral and not in his favor. The alleged invoice breakdown, $20,000 for fake reaction videos defending him, $15,000 on influencer tweets, $30,000 on streaming boosts for his latest single, $35,000 for a crisis management team that, according to insiders, just told him to log off and pray. Let that sink in. This man allegedly dropped the price of a midtown condo trying to clean up a digital brown he walked into on his own. Meanwhile, Nas he was already logged off, sipping tea in silence like a retard samurai who just wiped blood off his sword, and the public reaction unforgiving. Twitter timelines became digital graveyards. Meme pages had a buffet. Some of the fake viral tweets included, "Jim Jones was just a guest in a Nazi and still got evicted." That moment when you realize shouting ballin' can't save you from getting tethered? Jim's next mixtape better be called Apology Letter Volume 1. Even celebrities joined in. Or at least the fake ones were going to pretend did for this script. Charlemagne the God allegedly said on The Breakfast Club Jim had a midlife crisis in real time. Nas walked in like a god, walked out like a ghost. It was beautiful. Joe Button, never want to miss a messy moment. Fake posted, "This is why. You stay in your lane." That was Lyrical assisted suicide. But the most savage, fake response came from Nas's alleged associate, also fake, who said Nas didn't even blink. That's the difference. Jim argues like a man who still pays for studio time. Ouch. Now, let's talk about Jim's attempted comeback. Because, yes, in classic fashion, he wasn't going to just take the L quietly. The next morning, he allegedly went live from his car because, of course, rocking sunless indoors, speaking directly to his fans with the most overused phrase in hip-hop damage control history. "Y'all know what it is? Ain't no losses, just lessons. I'm still outside. Still outside, bro." At this point, the streets are asking you to go back inside and rethink some life choices. But the drama didn't stop there. Old clips resurfaced of Jim throwing shade at other legends, dismissing K. Razwan, mocking Talib Kweli, and once saying in an old interview that Illmatic was overhyped. Overhyped. Oh, you mean the album that single-handedly shifted the lyrical landscape of hip-hop? These resurfaced clips added fuel to the fire and made the public turn on Jim even harder. Too many. This wasn't just a one-night roast session. It was the culmination of years of side-eye the hip-hop community had given. The live stream, meanwhile, Nas's streams reportedly spiked by 36%. With fans revisiting Ether, Stillmatic, and Magic 2 as a tribute to the art of mature demolition, a mock fan page even posted, "You came for a king, you left with a crown made of L's." But the funniest fake moment, a meme that went viral showing a Dipset chain with a for sale tag and the caption, "Available no slightly used comes with emotional baggage." So, where does this leave Jim Jones? Publicly bruised, digitally clowned, and musically humbled. His fans are trying to spin it. His team is in panic mode, and the culture has already moved on to Nas, sipping his green juice and counting residuals. Because just as Jim tries one last time to salvage his image, the fallout takes an even more brutal turn. So Jim Jones logs back on, visibly drained. Hoodie up, trying to give "I don't care" energy, but delivering nothing but "Bro, I'm hurting." He starts with the classic damage control line. "Y'all making this bigger than it is? I ain't even phased. I still get money." But you know what the culture heard? Please stop. Because while Jim was out here trying to downplay it, the fallout had already begun. Let's start with the fake industry backlash. According to one anonymous exec at a major label, fake, of course, Jim's scheduled appearance at a major festival. Let's say rap. Royalty Reloaded was quietly dropped from the lineup within 24 hours of the live stream. Why, as our source puts it, look, we booked him because of nostalgia. After that live stream, all we got was bad press. A custom Dipset Kicks collab also reportedly fell apart. The reason Naja fans flooded the brand's page with clown emojis and quotes: corporate sponsors don't like controversy unless you're winning. And right now, Jim was losing badly. Then came the rumors of legal threats. According to unconfirmed, definitely made-up sources, Jim's legal team allegedly explored sending a sandpits for what exactly? That part was fuzzy. Some claim it was over defamation, others said it was public humiliation. One viral meme joked, Jim suing for damages after catching a lyrical fade on livestream. Nas completely unbothered. He didn't even respond. Meanwhile, Jim's PR team was doing everything to pivot the narrative. One anonymous counsel reportedly advised, lean into the loss, own it, be everything, and boom, mistake number 57. Because the fans weren't having it, Reddit threads exploded. One viral video titled Nas Violates Jim Jones, frame-by-frame breakdown got over 2 million views in 3 days. But perhaps the worst blow of all came from the hip-hop community itself. Rappers who once shared stages with Jim now either silent or suddenly riding the Nas train. Fake quotes started popping up everywhere. Pusha T, allegedly. Respect to Jim, but sometimes you got to know when to log off and learn. Styles probably didn't say this, but it sounds fire. Jim tried to out-rap Nas like a lawnmower trying to race a Tesla. Lupe Fiasco definitely fake. Nas writes novels. Jim writes captions. It was clear the culture had chosen sides, and Jim wasn't on the winning team. Now, let's talk financial consequences. According to fake insider reports, Jim's recent single Rushed Out post-live Dreamas, a comeback anthem, flopped so badly that one insider was quoted saying, "We gave it a test push, but listeners kept skipping it after the first verse." That same report claims Jim spent upwards of $50,000 trying to push the single on TikTok, hiring dancers, influencers, even a hashtag Jones Revenge trend. It failed miserably. Meanwhile, Naja's catalog saw a boom. Spotify reported a fake spic of 41% in Nas-related streams. Yes, even the 18th anniversary reissue. But here's the part that really stings. Fans started calling for Jim Jones to officially retire, not as a joke, as a mercy move. Hashtags like hashtag respectfully retired Jimmy #Dipset done. Hashtag Jim Jones versus silence trended for 2 days straight. Even verified users, including fake verified users, got in on it. At this point, Jim Jones should just drop a cookbook and let the mic go. But amidst all this chaos, live streams, lost sponsorships, digital dragging, Jim still had one move left. And oh, it was desperate. According to a fake leak, Jim reportedly reached out to Cameron. Yes, the very Cameron he's been on again off again. Beefing with to reunite Dipset for the culture and reclaim relevance. This was sweet. Revenge without saying a word? So what's left? A rapper who poked the wrong legend? A live stream that became a digital grave? A fanbase torn between defending a legacy and laughing at a collapse? And Nas sitting in silence like a proud sensei who just taught the world a lesson? Because this wasn't just a diss, this wasn't even a beef. It was a reckoning, a cultural reset, a moment that reminded everyone respect is earned. Or has it? Because after watching Jim Jones get turned into a live stream cautionary tale, the real question is, will he bounce back or just fade into meme history? That's a speedrun to irrelevance if we've ever seen one. But maybe, just maybe, this was the way-up call hip-hop needed. Maybe now rappers will think twice before they step to a lyrical icon with a 30-year resume and a fan base that still quotes Matic like scripture. Maybe Jim will finally take a long vacation from live streams and start a podcast called Ballin', but broken. Who knows? But here's what we do know. No drama, no yelling, just cold.com quiet destruction. And honestly, that's more gangster than anything Jim shouted in a mic since 2006. So now we turn it over to you, the real judges of the culture. Was Jim out of pocket? Did Nas go too far? And do you think there's any way Jones can bounce back from this flaming mess? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're watching. Not in this industry, not with egos this big, and definitely not when live streams are still free. Until next time, keep your bars up and your mouth shut because you never know when Nas might log back. Nas might log back.